So it seems that once again, acid is very popular now. When I say acid, I'm talking about the Roland TB303 sound. And, you know, this is having a renaissance at the moment in clubland. In fact, I remember when it first was popular back in 1988, when the whole kind of acid warehouse party kind of vibe was going on. So it was a revolutionary sound at the time. And funnily enough, it was a failed product for Roland. You know, it was designed to replace the bass player in a band, but it ended up being picked up by guys in Chicago and Detroit in secondhand music stores where these things were actually just sold off very cheap, and they were playing around with these things, pushing buttons, and you know, the whole style of music was born because of that. So we're going to emulate the 303 flavor, and we're going to do that using Ableton's analog synth. And so I'm going to show you some of the key things that are unique about the 303. Of course, it's not going to sound exactly the same, but we're going to get something sounding quite similar. I've got a little pattern in here, and the 303 itself actually had a step programmer on it, which was one of the reasons why it had a unique vibe on there. So you were pushing buttons to create the actual notes. But I've got the sequence here just to keep things moving fast for the demo. So the analog, let's bring it on. And the default waveform here is a sawtooth. There were two waveforms on the 303. Let me just show you the backing first before we go to the acid. So it's got that contemporary, really quite dark backing. This is a kind of track where the acid is having a bit of a renaissance. And you're not necessarily finding the house kind of beat where you've got a kick on every beat in the bar. You might have something that's quite broken or quite two-steppy where the acid is going on top. So let's take a look at what we need to do to get that acid flavor. Let's have a listen to the notes as they are. So it's sounding really bad. The first thing I'm going to do is go to the amplifier envelope and reduce that. Let's just have a listen to how that's sounding now. Now, the key to the 303 is the fact that it's a monosynth. It's only one note can play at once. So I'm going to come over here, click on the volume section, and we're going to drop down the amount of voices to mono. The other thing I'm going to do is turn glide on. So let's have a listen to how that works. So you can hear the pitch bend going on, and that's because of the glide. We can make that occur fast or slowly. About 50% is working nicely there. So that's one of the key elements of the 303. It was the bending of the notes, so the glide occurring between two notes. That creates a really interesting vibe. So the other thing I'm going to do is turn on the filter. We're going to just stick with a 12 dB per octave low pass, and we're going to crank the resonance up. That was one of the very distinctive things about the acid sound, and just modulate the filter frequency manually for the moment. See how that sounds with the backing? So it's sounding nice. Now on the real 303, we also had the ability to adjust the way the filter works with the filter envelope. So I'm going to bring this up and just show you here the possibilities if we make this decay shorter. And that's a very common sound there with the shorter decay. The two waveforms on the 303 were the sawtooth and the pulse wave, so I could switch to the pulse wave over here. Let's have a listen to that. Take the decay of the envelope out. Let's take the envelope modulation off as well. Sorry, I've gone too far there. Here we go. But this isn't the kind of flavor that I want. I want something a bit more aggressive, a bit more in your face. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some distortion. So onto the audio effects, and we are going to put some overdrive on. I'm going to widen the amount of frequencies here, and going to bring the drive up. Going to take the dry wet mix 100%. Let's have a listen to that so far. Now obviously that's got a lot louder, so just for the moment I'm going to stick on a utility. Going to bring the gain down, and let's have a listen. that's sounding good, but I'm going to flip back to the sawtooth. And we're going to add an effect. Let's stick the ping pong delay on. Let's take the feedback down, dry wet mix down. And I'm just going to shift the range of frequencies that the delay's working on just up a bit here. Let's have a listen. Yeah, that's working nicely. So you're starting to see here that we could build up a rack that becomes a sort of virtual 303 style synthesizer. The other thing that I want to do just to twist things up a little bit is to find the MIDI effects. And I just want to stick a random to the left and just going to take the chance up a bit and see how that sounds. Gonna take the scale up. So now the random MIDI effect is basically giving us some extra notes that are different to the original sequence. So we got some interesting flavor there. The next thing to do is to put all of these in a rack and then set up some macros so that we can get tweaking those and get them into the sequencer for a performance.